The Alabama Senate just passed the nation's most restrictive abortion bill in an effort to get the Supreme Court to reverse Roe v. Wade. The near total ban passed in a 25-6 vote. It now heads to Republican Governor Kay Ivey for final approval.
House Bill 314, or the Human Life Protection Act, bans all abortions except when the woman's life is at risk. It provides no exceptions for victims of rape or incest, and it criminalizes the procedure, making it a felony punishable by up to 99 years in prison for doctors performing abortion-related acts. CBS News correspondent Jericka Duncan has more.
House Bill 314 passes.
In a late-night vote, Alabama got one step closer to banning nearly all abortions. The bill makes performing an abortion a Class A felony. Doctors would face up to 99 years or life in prison. Unlike measures in other states, it would not punish women receiving abortions.
This bill, to me, appears to be about control.
Democratic State Senator Linda Coleman Madison is one of only 4 women in the 35-member Senate. All 27 Republicans are men.
You don't know what you don't know because you've never been pregnant. It's the choice of 2 people.
That's right.
But it seems like only one is being thrown under the bus here.
Motion to table.
Chaos erupted in the state Senate last week over an amendment that would have made abortions legal in rape and incest cases. The exception did not pass last night.
This is just a shame. This is a disgrace.
So far, 6 states have passed fetal heartbeat bills, banning abortions after 6 weeks before a woman may even know she's pregnant. Similar legislation has been introduced in at least 10 others. The Alabama bill's sponsor says it was designed to be contested and ultimately make its way to the now conservative-leaning Supreme Court.
We can't get a heartbeat bill until we get Roe versus Wade revisited and turned over.
But Democrats argue the Alabama bill will disproportionately endanger poor and minority women who already lack access to health care. Only half the state's 67 counties have an obstetrician or doctor who specializes in pregnancy. Mia Raven works with one of the 3 abortion clinics left in Alabama.
Why should people care about this issue? Men and women. It affects more people than you know. The problem in the South is we just don't talk about it.
And Jericka Duncan joins us now from Montgomery, Alabama. So, Jericka, I was really intrigued by the interview you were having with that woman who we just heard at the end of your piece there. She said it affects a lot more people in Alabama, but we just don't talk about it. Who is she talking about?
She's talking about women in this state, and then she's also talking about women in general around this country. And her concern is that this will, in fact, go to the Supreme Court. But she said that she's confident that this has already been decided, and she feels like this bill is unconstitutional.
So if it is signed into law by the governor, then what happens to the clinics around the state that perform this procedure?
Well, remember, there are only 3, and in theory, once this is signed into law, we expect the governor to sign this, even though she has not commented on this, and I believe she has a news conference later today, so we'll, of course, find out if there's any news to be made there. But even if she does sign this bill into law, it would, in theory, take 6 months before it goes into effect, but you already have Planned Parenthood and the ACLU coming out saying that they are gearing up for a fight and they are ready for a long legal fight when it comes to this. But I think obviously this bill is getting so much attention because it's the most restrictive and it has the support of lawmakers here in Montgomery, Alabama.
Jericka, as you know, and I found that I didn't know until I started researching this story and reading your reporting. In Alabama, the Senate is only made up of 31 men. Sorry, it's made up of 31 men, and it only has 4 women. Has that played into this conversation that they were having on the floor there?
You know, it does, but it's a numbers game. So, the women who spoke on behalf of the abortion rights advocates said, you're not a woman, you have no idea. One woman even proposed an amendment saying that it should be a felony to get a vasectomy because essentially she's saying, well, if you want to control the women's reproductive rights, well, let's control the men's and make that a felony. Of course, it was struck down, but they can talk until they're blue in the face. It's a numbers game, and they had the support that they need for this bill to move forward, which it did.
So speaking of support, I know you spoke to people who are opposed to the bill, and you spoke to the lawmaker who is behind the initial push. But what about the people of Alabama? Presumably, all those men and Republicans represent people. Do the people support this bill?
So interestingly enough, in 2018, there was an amendment. The turnout was very low for that special election, but there was an amendment asking people if they support the sanctity of life, and 60% of those people voted yes. So one could argue that voters support this. Voters elect those lawmakers into office, but we'll see what sort of ramifications this really has when we look at some of those protests that we expect to see and those legal fights that we know are coming, like I said, with organizations like Planned Parenthood and the ACLU. But the bottom line is, in this entire state, there are only 3 abortion clinics left. So what happens to those, we're not sure just yet, but we know that the people who work in those clinics, the people who support those clinics, are very concerned right now.
All right, Jericka. Yeah, sorry, Jericka. Sorry, Emery.
Thanks, Jericka.